All right, and we're going 5 and 3.
Just sent it.
1.
You're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Hey there, Pharmacy Podcast Nation. It is the RxFusion.live show every Friday at 1 p.m. I'm excited to be talking with you. So much has happened this week in pharmacy, and we're excited that you're here. If you're listening to this as a syndication, as an archive through YouTube or through Twitter or another place that we're sending it out, let us know that you've listened and let us know any of your ideas as a pharmacy industry professional and pharmacist, our favorite healthcare providers. I'd like to welcome back my co-host and trusted colleague and podcasting Uncle Kenny. Welcome back to RxFusion Live, Ken.
Hello, Toddy Todd, the podcaster of the future and the present and the past. You are all of that in the, what is that, the Christmas Carol? You're the podcaster of the past, you're the podcaster of the present, and you're the podcaster of the future. So it's always a pleasure to be here with you.
The pleasure is all mine, and excited to talk with the nation today. There's, like I said, lots going on since last week, and I'm not going to prevent us from really talking about anything. If you're listening and you want to participate through Twitter or Instagram, or if you want to come on live, please let us know. It's RxFusion.live. You just go to RxFusion.live. You'll come into a waiting room, and if you want to talk, we'll give you the capabilities to definitely do so. Let us know in the notes that you'd like to comment on something that we're talking about. Elephant in the room, Ken, that I don't want to hide from, and that is Amazon's play at the beginning of the week in entering officially the pharmacy space. We knew that was going to happen. It's been bubbling for about 5 years, but they've officially entered the space. And I want to hear from someone who's been in pharmacy, longer than I have, in your perspective and what you think of that.
I'm glad it happened for the customers who they serve. I'm glad it happened for our profession because it's a call to arms that we need to do more. We need to be better. We need to raise our bar. Anyone who thinks that Amazon is coming into the market to play nicely, they're not. They dominate. They're a disruptor. They're a destroyer. And what they do is they put a smile on the outside of the box of everything that they send to the customer. So it's our job as the pharmacy industry to put a smile in the box of the things that we do for our patients. I am thrilled that Amazon has entered the space. It brings more awareness. It brings more care. It brings more medications to the patients who need it. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm all about.
I believe that if the independent pharmacy community is worried about this, it's a matter of hustle. It's a matter of you doing something, a little extra, the extra pickle that you give to the customer to keep them engaged with you. There's a marketing edge to this. I think the care that is provided in the community pharmacy space is a differentiator, but that can't be it. It can't just be about customer service. It must be about really staying ahead of the game. And I think it all comes down to marketing, Ken. I really think that the power and the 113 million Americans have a Amazon Prime account. So they will be inundated with emails and with marketing. And when they show up on the site, it will talk about this endeavor. And that shouldn't scare an independently owned community pharmacy, because the relationship is the starting point. But can they have to market their services better? They have to educate their patients better, because they have that in person. There's nothing more powerful than being in person. If Ken and I could do this live together at an actual radio station and broadcast in front of a live studio audience, there's a much more powerful ability in doing that than us being, virtual, but it's better than, just dealing with what I consider an enhanced mail service pharmacy. What do you think about the marketing side of this, Ken?
Well, I am a marketer
Yep.
who just happens to be a pharmacist. I play a pharmacist on podcasts, but the point is that we must not just be aware and think about the scare that's coming upon us. We must pivot. And as I see Keri Mastro entering our room, I
Yes.
see that the pivoting is needed for next generation forward thinking individuals who go outside the box, outside the Amazon box that shows up. Todd, it is critical that independent pharmacies and anyone in our industry not just add a little bit of extra, they need to really refocus their attention and their business model. Otherwise, they will not be here at this time next year. It is not an ongoing conversation that you've been the leader in looking for change and reform. What happened this week is it's a potential tsunami to drown out the backbone of our profession, which are independent pharmacies. Let them slug it out with the big boxes of CVS and Walgreens. They didn't come in to kill ABC Pharmacy on the corner of Main Street, USA. They will by what their purpose is to crush CVS and crush Walgreens, because when they come into a market, they dominate. And anyone who feels, they can't do this, they can't do that, go on to Amazon Pharmacy today, Todd, and put your name in today. They have your information. They have your insurance. They're able to transfer a prescription out of Walgreens and CVS today with everything in place today. This is a press release that is an indication that it's a call to action, marketing, awareness, saying that an independent pharmacy can do things that Amazon cannot do for their patients. The packaging of PillPack was the predecessor. So it's more than just delivery. It's about engagement with your patient, outreach, doing things that Amazon can't do and won't do, which is deliver care, compassion, and empathy, not just a prescription.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you are right on with that, because it is a differentiator to be in your community and be of your community in comparison to, just being a commodity driven model, which is it, which Amazon is. Before we go any further, I want to welcome to the show the one and only Keri Mastro, Binghamton University School of Pharmacy, P4. Welcome to RxFusion, Keri.
Thank you very much.
Keri, do you have an Amazon Prime account?
I actually not at the moment. I don't have an Amazon Prime account at the moment. I have family members that do, but not personally.
Have you ever had a smiley box show up at your door for something you bought?
I have.
Was it something that as a customer that you felt that they set the bar the way that you as a customer expected it to happen?
That's an interesting question. With Amazon's role nowadays, this is something that's, like you mentioned, it's going to impact the profession. I'm just right away, my mind goes to pharmacy and kind of our role in delivering patient care. And I want to go back to what you had mentioned, Ken, before about, it's about the patient engagement. As I'm thinking through this, it's really just, it's one thing to dispense and provide and have it at the doorstep, but behind everything there's a role for us as pharmacists. And, there needs to be patient engagement. And that's what we're here to do. And that's why I think, there's a big role for us in this day and age, especially with movements like this by Amazon. So, I hope to be the pharmacist one day that's really there for the patient, and whether it's remote, virtual, in a, telehealth setting, or just the way that the world is going. But I think that we have a great opportunity to kind of take this towards positive direction and really and make sure that the patient engagement is carried through the whole way, the continuum of care. So
what I love about that is it brings it back to the profession, which is your passion, and for that enhancing the profession and the role of the pharmacist. But you also talk about that customer experience, because at the end of the day, whatever profession we are in, our patients are our customers. And to set the level, the bar, as high as Amazon does, with all due respect, we must give them their due. It's important that we recognize that the customer experience, how they feel about the service, is as important as how they feel about what's actually in the box. So I think we need to become much more than pharmacists. We need to be business and professional developers of the solutions that our customers want. Right now, Alexa is in the house of tens of millions of Americans. Alexa will be the pharmacy intern technician of the future. And we can't allow that to happen to the degree that it crushes the future of next generation PharmDs like you and others, because we cannot afford to let artificial intelligence replace personal engagement, hospitality, and healthcare go together. We need to connect with the patient, which is why you are a leader in our organization, because you have that patient engagement skills, and they must be embraced by the next generation and existing pharmacists, licensed pharmacists, as from P1 to P66, where I'm 66 years old. If we don't think that our pharmacy profession has changed this week and our business has changed this week, we're living under a rock, because it has. Todd, what can we do as the Pharmacy Podcast Network to continue this vigilant and resilient effort that we've had for 12 years to take it to the next level, to help that independent pharmacy owner, to help that next generation pharmacist make sure that they're not steamrolled by Amazon?
Yes. Well, first of all, it's a matter of educating your patients about what you do as a community pharmacy. So if you're doing immunizations, if you're doing, exams of a follow-up that had been a treatment that the primary care had issued, and your patient, what they're going through. They came in 2 weeks ago about something, and they returned, and they're asking questions about their condition, whether it got a little bit better, or it's changed for the worse. I think that engagement is extremely important. The follow-up, if you don't have your patients on a medication synchronization program, you have to do that immediately. You have to keep your patients engaged in continuously coming back to you, who is the expert for all of their pharmacy needs, and you should be supplementing other things, starting with education, through things like meetups at your store for education on diabetes, or maybe another disease state that you specialize in, or you bring in a resident from a local school of pharmacy to do a presentation. But you need to keep it about the community. I think the education and community go hand in hand, and you should be thought of as the healthcare destination for your community. That will insulate you from the Amazon impact, because Amazon, once again, is a commodity. As much as I order my microphones when I launch different podcast supports through clients that come to us, and sometimes we'll ship them a microphone. And the convenience of Amazon is absolutely amazing. But when I think of my health, the only thing I do with Amazon is very commodity driven. I'm not going to Amazon for solutions or questions. And like you said, we're a long way away, Ken and Keri, from a robot or an artificial intelligence being able to look at the color of the skin of your patient 2 days later after starting some medication, or being engaged with them through telemedicine, or knowing that they're sweating profusely and you can tell that there's something wrong. including the family members that surround that patient if there are serious conditions in place, and how you engage and educate the family as well about the patient's health. So I think this is all about community, number one, number two, education, and I think those go hand in hand.
What's amazing, Todd, every time I listen to you, is you're not a pharmacist, but you have such a tremendous understanding of what that pharmacist's role is and what that pharmacist's opportunities are. You don't look at them as challenges, and you always come to the table with the opportunities that pharmacists should consider. You can't tell a pharmacy owner what to do today, or anybody. You can't tell anybody to wear a mask in the general world. But what you do is you give cause for thought, and you give cause for someone to say, maybe that pathway works for me. And that's what you, as a marketer, as a brilliant educator of our profession, give them. It's knowledge. So, Keri, from a educational standpoint, because you are in the learning didactic world, we're not. We're on the outside looking in. What is your perspective of what can a university, the University of Binghamton, graduating, you are going to walk down the aisle as the first, well, you're not, because it's Mastro, you'll be M, but maybe Joe Appleby will be the first, whoever he is, the first PharmD graduating from the University at Binghamton. That is amazing. And I know Dr. Sarah Spencer for 3.5 years when I signed the affiliate agreement, before there even was a white coat to be had at University of Binghamton. So tell us what you, as a future soon-to-be graduate in the educational world, what can a university, what can an APPE student, what can a next generation provider do to offset what is happening right now that we have no control over with an Amazon or change in our profession?
Sure. Well, I think it starts back to, incorporating, why we're here as professionals in the first place. And it's about the patient engagement. It's about, thinking about the patient that we are providing healthcare for. So, and that starts in the didactic setting, that starts in our skills lab, that starts in our experiential education, in all of our rotations, but really back in the classroom. And I've been fortunate enough to get the experience at Binghamton University. It's really driving patient-centered care, and it's about individualizing the medicine for our patient. And every patient is different. We've got to just deliver, evidence-based medicine, but also think about the patient and talk through, it's shared clinical decision-making. It's knowing that, this is a human being that we are caring for, and we want what's best for the patient at the end of the day, something that's going to work for them. And that's been taught, as I mentioned, reinforced through our counseling sessions, our skills lab. Another thing that we're doing, and I hope other universities are as well, is really emphasizing the interprofessional collaboration. So, healthcare nowadays, as we all are getting the experience now, it's about communication with other healthcare professionals. It's working together and unifying our resources and our efforts for the patient. So we've been fortunate enough to have multiple projects throughout our P1 through P3 years. And then now we're getting it, of course, on our experiential rotations. But within the didactic curriculum, we are exposed to projects with nursing students, with medical students, and with social work students. And then us as representing pharmacy. So we all come together, and there's various projects, various, case-based projects, different things that go on. But, even as a student, that's one of the first things that we do as pharmacy students at Binghamton University is we're meeting with these other, healthcare professionals and these other training healthcare professionals, and we're preparing to work with them. So, but again, it's just coming back to we're unified on behalf of the patient. And as we mentioned, Ken, it's about the patient engagement. So having that as a culture in a university setting from the start is just something that, I feel honored to have, and I think you carry that with you throughout. And so having, rotations that really emphasize on that, and, you kind of bring that with you. I know it's part of just, kind of just feels like a part of the culture, it was emphasized in the didactic curriculum, and then you're able to carry that with you throughout and build upon that through your experiential rotations for the patient at the end of the day.
Well, at the end of the day, you are a daughter of RX VIP concierge from another mother, because the feelings and the voices and the conversation you have absolutely aligns with what our vision is, to take that didactic learning and then put it into real practice, and put it to the point that your brilliant didactic skills and your cognitive abilities to connect with those patients that you learn can then actually be implemented. And I sent Todd as you see, I'm not on the screen today. I obviously have a face for podcasting, but I was ready. But apparently the technology, didn't hook up. Todd put me on as a panelist, a host, or whatever. But I sent them an image because I wanted to show that there's a lot of stress now, not just for professionals of pharmacy. Hi there, Corinda. We're going to answer your question. Would love to have a speaker. I'm going to shut up. Guess what? Because I talk too much, and we're going to ask Jorinda Basse to ask a question that we will answer, and then I'll pick that up again. So, Todd, you have a Jorinda Basse in the room.
Yep.
You got to do what we do.
Yep. And before we get to your question and getting you involved, we do want to mention our sponsor, which is CE Impact. They have a program called 2021 Year in Gear, and this is going to be a supportive program for pharmacists in all sectors of healthcare. They believe in pharmacists. The people that formed this organization, Jennifer and Suzanne, are both pharmacists. They were both practicing pharmacists in different sectors, health system and community. And this Year in Gear is a supportive program that the Pharmacy Podcast believes in. We will have a facilitator called Dr. Beth Montpas, and she's a life coach, and she believes in supporting and promoting people that are professionals, especially in the healthcare space, especially with this pandemic going on right now. And we are sponsoring this event, and we have another one of our podcasters, Bruce Nealon, who is the Pharmacy Crossroads host, part of this as well as Christina Madison. Dr. Madison is also joining the Pharmacy Podcast Network. So we're very excited about what's happening in the space of education, Ken. And, we have some surprises coming the first of the year that we're not going to go into detail about. But we're excited that CE Impact has been part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network for all of 2020, and they've been an amazing partner.
Well, 2021 will be a year in gear, and I would like to have you connect me to Beth Montas, because we would love to be a part of that. Todd, one of the things that I struggle with, but I think we have a solution, is you started me as a PGX for Pharmacist podcaster, and I am so committed to that precision medicine. And when Keri was talking about it, how we need to personalize it, it brought me back to my roots. And what I'd like to do is, with 2021, a year in gear, is bring back that PGX for Pharmacist podcast with a next generation host. Not that I'm not, there, I love it, but to help mentor that individuals, because more students come to us with an interest in pharmacogenomics than anything. This week I spoke to David Kaiser, one of the leaders. We will bring him in as well to educate. And Dr. Greg Alston, of course. We're working on pharmacogenomics to bring that. You can't forget PGX because of COVID, because having the right drug and the right dose and reducing adverse drug reactions. So I would like to be involved with that sponsorship with the 2021 in Gear initiative, and provide a stress relief pill that I sent a picture of you, because I think getting back in gear is dealing with the stress, the COVID-19 pandemic, fatigue, the stress levels, and I would love to be kind of a human Xanax and people involved with 2021 in gear. Okay?
Yep. we have a student on with us. We'd like to welcome you to the RX Fusion Live discussion. Are you there, Bassi?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Mr. Bassi, nice to have you here. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I just discovered this channel on YouTube, and I also just discovered you guys' website, and I'm heading in this direction, and I'm still, researching the gathering some information to learn more about this field.
Pharmacy. Yep. And do you have a specific sector of pharmacy that you're most interested in? There's community and there's health system and specialty disease states and compounding. There's even research and even technology.
Um, I'm interested in probably research.
Very good.
What I'd like to do is I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I say that to my kids. And I don't think, Bassi, Mr. Bassi, or future Dr. Bassi, that there's any reason to be concerned that we don't know what we want to do. So what I'd like to do is kind of be almost like a guide, a coach, a mentor to you by giving you my number. And it is 1-844-MY-RX-VIP, because everybody needs someone who they could reach out to, has no agenda, but just to listen. God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth. I do talk a lot, but I do listen, and Keri can attest to that. We were on the phone the other night for quite some time, and I was listening to her vision and making sure that we aligned to her vision and her direction. So at your convenience, and it's 844 my RX VIP. For those of you who can't figure the numbers out, because sometimes I can, it's 697-9847. And call me anytime, and I'd be happy just to listen and learn more about the ways that we can help you, guide you in the right, show you options, because nobody knows exactly what the future is. You have to have a plan, and the plan is to always have a plan. And I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And tell your friends to dial in like you did. We thank you so much for contributing.
All right, I want to move to another subject, and that is Dr. Nabila Ishmael. We talked about her, PharmD. She did work with RX VIP Concierge and has worked with Ken and I before. She has accepted a position with GoodRx to really dive into developing good content from a pharmacist perspective. We're so excited for her. She released her very first blog post today, which was called Prescribing Authority for Pharmacists, Rules and Regulations by State. And so we just got done talking about Amazon. And Keri, what do you think of prescribing, for example, birth control by pharmacists, and the ability to kind of expand upon that?
Sure. Well, I think, given the modern healthcare world, there are roles for pharmacists to be leaders in the healthcare setting. So, getting, for example, prescriber status, just kind of all across the board. And certain states do have that. That was granted in Ohio, for example. There are states that have provider status. And that is something that as a profession as a whole, we are moving towards. So, it's an exciting time for us as pharmacists. And even now for me to be, entering the field at a time, I think there's no better time, to be honest. I think there's a huge opportunity for pharmacists, as you mentioned, with prescriber status, for example, whether it be, birth control medication or just as a whole. I think this is a great opportunity to really be leaders in the healthcare profession and to put our clinical knowledge really to its maximum capacity and practice at the top of our license. So, as we see there are expanded prescribing in multiple states. I hope that one day, I'm not sure if it'll be throughout my time as a pharmacist, I hope so, but I think this is something that has a unique opportunity. And I think that this is definitely a topic area that I look forward to learning more about. So I'm super glad this is available. I'm going to definitely check into this even further. But as I mentioned, now more than ever, I'm like, wow, this is just a really cool time to be entering the profession. I mean, there's opportunities that are blossoming, and advocacy for the profession is at an all-time high. And now, of course, more than ever during a pandemic, I think there's a need for that patient engagement and that clinical care. So this is super interesting. I'm definitely kind of reading as you're scrolling here, Todd. I think this is an excellent piece I'm going to check into later and read more about.
Ken, I wanted to bring you back into this because of this section here in the state of Oregon and being able to dig into diabetes, blood sugar testing supplies, injection supplies, and even nutrition supplies that are very specifically designed and regulated for diabetics. But can you kind of expand upon the ability for pharmacists in being selected medications in prescribing?
Sure. What Oregon is doing is what should be being done in every state across the country. Diabetics suffer even before the pandemic. They suffer now even more. Our ability as care providers, as concierge, we call them diabuddies, need to connect with those patients. And by connecting, we're able to use our incredible medication skills, also our compassion and empathy, which is so important for a diabetic, because that disease there's a stigma to it. And when you're all alone as a diabetic, you're not going to do well. But when you surround yourself with support, and sometimes it doesn't even come from your immediate family because of that stigma. So what we're doing is outreach in every state of the union. We're not waiting to prescribe. We prescribe care, compassion, and empathy, and we work with Diassist and iGlucose, which is a cellular-enabled glucometer. And we literally put the Keri Mastros in the box, and we shrink her down like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Rick Moranis. And she can connect and take care of, look at the medication titrations, look at real-time changes in those medications, look at blood glucoses in real time through an amazing Diassist technology that every pharmacist should have and will have if they come to the Pharmacy Podcast Network, and let them come into the chat room. I will give my 1-844 MyRx VIP number to every pharmacist in the country so that they could be DiaBuddy providers. And Todd, when I use the word provider, I think about what Keri's dream is to say in her lifetime, she wants to be a provider. But when she doesn't talk about the global vision, but she talks about what we're doing with our concierge approach, Keri is a provider today because she will be, when her educational career with us is over and she starts to join us as a future next generation provider, be paid for the services she delivers as a provider. 1-844 MyRx VIP is for everyone. Blow my phone up. I got an Apple 12 Max now. I was having trouble. Blow it up. Call me. And we will put providers' status behind us and provider dollars in the hands of Pharmacy Podcast Network listeners.
You won't even use half the technology that's probably in that phone. I can't even maximize my iPhone X, let alone the 12.
Todd, I have trouble just basically reading your emails. Okay, so that's why I have Keri with me, because, they've forgotten more about technology, and she's going to be someone who is going to enhance our company by being that next generation leader who's born in that technology. I was born in the dark ages, and, that's what my challenge is.
You're talking about medication adherence and the importance of that, especially during a pandemic. Today's show is also brought to you by RxSafe. Let's take a listen.
Say goodbye to time-consuming hand-filled exception trays and constant rework. The Rapid Pack RX can complete a 30-day med cycle in 10 minutes on demand by using up to 20 smart cartridges that dispense all oral solid medications, split tabs, gel caps, and over-the-counter supplements without calibration or hand-filled trays. Paired with the lowest consumables cost in the industry, Rapid Pack RX is the obvious solution to your adherence strip packaging needs. Adherence strip packaging jobs can be easily, quickly, and accurately completed by following this process. First, patients drop off their prescriptions or request pouch packaging for existing prescriptions. The technician then enters the data into the computer, prints labels, and pulls the required stock bottles. The stock bottles are scanned for verification, and the correct number of pills are counted using optical counting technology. Then, the smart cartridges are inserted into the slot indicated by a green flashing light. The job is run through the machine, utilizing the 23 built-in vision inspection cameras. Our unique 3-step integrated machine vision verification system means one-pass workflow, unmatched accuracy, and significantly lower operating costs. The finished pouches are now ready for pharmacist review and verification. The adherence strip is rolled and placed in a convenient dispenser box and delivered to the patient. The Rapid Pack RX can improve your pharmacy outcomes in several key areas. Improved patient adherence, market and revenue growth, increased profitability, improved accuracy and speed. Experience the unparalleled adherence packaging technology of the Rapid Pack RX system. The Rapid Pack RX is an innovative, patented product designed, engineered, and manufactured in the United States. Discover how the Rapid Pack RX can advance your pharmacy today.
I enjoy talking with that RX Safe team because they really understand the plight and the struggles of independent community pharmacy and long-term care pharmacy specifically. And they've been a huge partner of ours as well. But I don't like endorsing products that I don't believe truly make an impact. I don't feel passionate about it. But when I have a technology partner like that is out there, out there to increase adherence, and then they're placing these technologies in the hands of a pharmacist to allow that pharmacist to spend more time with the patient. That's what gets me jazzed up.
Todd, as you know, my background from when I graduated St. John's in 1978 is I entered the consumer electronics industry, and we represented many large leading brands in consumer electronics. As I come full circle in my career, an RX Safe is a brand that I would be proud to represent because I believe that the adherence is the devil. And any company who is dealing to slay the devil is giving independent pharmacies an opportunity before the pandemic and before the Amazon announcement. But now, to the point that we were talking about in the beginning of this show, any independent pharmacy needs to invest in their future today by making sure. Do you think Amazon is using a little pill tray to count pills and put it in there? Do you think the automation that an RX Safe can bring to you at the corner of your independent pharmacy to take care of your patients, don't you think that's the major investment you need to make in your business? Because otherwise, the business is going to go away from you. They're going to pull those patients from you because they're delivering the pill pack type, that RX Safe pack. I had that on my desk, Todd. As you know, I spoke to these individuals when you introduced me to them, and I was thrilled. They sent me a sample, and again, all those little packs have little candies in them, the little Tic Tacs. So I kind of went overboard. But the point is, there has to be adherence packaging in the future and present of every long-term. I'm not talking about a long-term care pharmacy. I'm talking about a pharmacy who wants to be around long-term. You need to be RX Safe-like environments. Otherwise, it's just going to get away from you. And then you'll look back and say, why? So please, I would love to represent those individuals. As you know, we're about to get quite a list of independent pharmacies that we will be marketing to through an affiliation that you introduce us to. And we would love to represent doing more business for a great company like RxSafe.
Absolutely, and thanks for commenting on that. And you're absolutely right. I think that the pharmacists and the pharmacy owners who are looking ahead and realizing that healthcare is in an enormous stage of flux and change right now are going to adopt technologies, processes, and programs. And once again, coming back to that key word, education to your customer and to your patient about how important medication adherence is. That's a $300 billion problem and causing about 120,000 lives per year that we lose because of medication non-adherence. So it's an extremely serious issue, and it's the pharmacist's plight. It's the pharmacist role to change that, and it's going to be through education and marketing and getting in front of the customer however we can. There was a story that came out, a study that came out. I'm going to have this in a show notes within the YouTube that we archive, and it's by Deloitte. They're a research company and a consultant company. They do have pharmacists on staff, and a pharmacist team wrote a perspective just published on Tuesday called "The Future of Pharmacy: Disruption Creates Transformative Opportunities and Challenges." When I saw a Fortune, I think 200 company, which I think Deloitte is, when they heard them write this, they wouldn't publish this if they didn't have the data, because this is a data-driven company to back up these claims. But that is absolutely what Ken and I have been talking about for years, and that is disruption creating opportunities. And that opportunity is in the pharmacist pathway. This is in your pathway, Keri. If you want to do things out of the box, you start doing it now. I mean, when I started podcasting in 2009, Keri, how embarrassing it was when people asked me, when I'd send them an email and say, "Can you listen to this podcast?" And the very first thing I heard them say is, "Well, what's a podcast?" They didn't even.
That's what I said. That's what I said to you when you called me.
That's right. So I want people to take a look at this this study exploring the immersive glimpse into the future of pharmacy and what that means for the pharmacist. This is in combining things like wearables. This is digging into data. This is digging into conditions that will be changing. It's digging into the efficacy of medications and comparing from one person to the next in leveraging what is PGX and pharmacogenomics. This is an amazing study that I'm about halfway through. You can download the PDF. There's no charge for this, but there's incredible insights in this that you're going to want. If you think you want to be in pharmacy for the next 10, 20, 30 years, this is one of the reports that you should be reading and consuming and understanding of how you're going to be a next generation pharmacist.
Todd, I jumped on Deloitte at COVID-19 because they were a major resource area. That's their business. And we're not Deloitte, nor can we ever be. But with the Keri Mastros and the others who aspire to be her, we have the ability to say that to write those studies, to write those articles. I could never, ever, ever write that the way that our next generation students of pharmacy can. So it's kind of a call out. You're reaching out to P2s, 3s, and 4s to because of their skill set. But we are reaching out to P2s, 3s, and 4s every day about putting them on a pathway to enhance their career. There's a perfect alignment here. I don't write a whole article, I can't, but I said many times what that article is about. Through crisis comes opportunity. And Todd, we are in a crisis. We cannot look backwards. Every pharmacy owner, everyone in our profession must look forward. And how do we search for solutions? Research is incredibly important for a baseline of what was, but no one knows what is or what will be in the pandemic world. So we must create the pathways, the frameworks of best practices. And best practices can be and will be adhered to by people who want to go outside that box and people who want to be forward-thinking providers. It's out there. It's bigger than ever. And the opportunity to be a great pharmacist is right here now.
I want to make a comment about the future of pharmacists and what they have the capability of doing. And I want Keri to chime in on this one. We do have a podcast series called Pharmacist, focused on mental health, which was kicked off by several pharmacists that really helped to kind of dig into this. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. Monica Krishnan, who actually helps to run this podcast series. She's gathered us about a half dozen guests so far. We have 4 episodes out. We had talked with Monica. We talked with David Dent, who is a future pharmacist, class of 2022. We talked with Rachel Uri, my daughter, from the perspective of a child's view on mental health, especially during this time of pandemic and extra stress. And then we talked with Dr. Deepti Gandhi and Dr. Bella Patel. Dr. Bella Patel is a PharmD, and Dr. Deepti is an MD, and they work together in mental health issues. Keri, mental health is going to be a huge sector of our healthcare system and healthcare and medicine, and pharmacists have a huge opportunity to make an impact in mental health. As a matter of fact, they're coming out with specialties and additional certifications on behavioral health and mental health. What have you heard about mental health, behavioral health in your school and in your university?
Absolutely. So yes, just to echo that, Todd, it's a huge part of modern healthcare. I mean, this is something, especially in the current landscape with this current pandemic, this is something that is, increasingly an issue for patients and something that needs to be addressed by healthcare professionals and largely by pharmacists. There is a huge impact for us to make a positive difference in addressing these issues for patients and just being able to help them. So throughout my academic career, it's been really interesting. We've been exposed to, not only the didactic curriculum, kind of just which ways we can help to facilitate, behavioral interventions. And we have a professor who is specialized as a psych pharmacist, and also opportunities for patients to be involved with clinical rotations at various hospitals that are specialized more so to address psych disease states and help patients with mental health. And I think I've been lucky enough to get one of those rotations myself, and I mean it's amazing to know that we are in a profession at a time right now where we are looking at the patient overall, everything, lifestyle management. We're looking at the patient's overall well-being. So, we may have a call with a patient that's, the intention of the call may be to be focused on, say, diabetic management and optimizing the therapy that way. But, it's more so also just saying, asking the patient how they're doing, checking in on them. And that's just a huge part of it. Of course, we have a focus to optimize therapy, but behind it all, we're looking at the patient as a whole. So it goes back to just kind of what's been reinforced in the curriculum, just delivering patient-centered care. And part of that is, checking in on the patient's mental health just as much as physical health and the clinical progress. And clinical progress includes mental health for patients. So just learning to be able to, be mindful of that and also echo that on rotations and then prepare to do that in practice is something that I truly value. And I know I've been just practicing those skills to just make sure that, like I said, we're looking at the patient as an overall, their overall well-being and making sure we're optimizing every part of that. So I think that nowadays more than ever, we as pharmacists have a huge role to ensure to always have that in our back pocket, in the back of our mind, and not even the back of our mind, in the front of our mind when we are addressing any other disease states, just to be able to, know that that's a huge impact or a huge aspect of it and how we can make an impact in addressing that. Just as important as any of the other disease states, in my opinion.
And there's stigma about mental health, Keri, and that sometimes it's overlooked. And sometimes, the patient isn't taken seriously. Before I ask Ken a follow-up question, we do have a sponsor that's concentrated on mental health, specifically by partnering with pharmacists, psychiatrists, pharmacists, MDs, primary care specialists. Pharmacists are leading the way with the PsycU community. If you don't know about this, resource, please look it up. It's at psychu.org. They are a provider of podcast content through the Pharmacy Podcast Network. They've been a sponsor now for about 2 months. And I just want to give a shout out to Heighton, who made that relationship take place. But once again, this is the PsycU community, specifically led by pharmacists. They have webinars every week about different behavioral health issues. One of the webinars that I actually got to attend, a lot of it went right over my head, Keri, because I am not a pharmacist, but nonetheless, they were talking about the sensitivity of ramping up on a psychotropic, and then of course having to come down. There is a trending report that they put out called Trends in Behavioral Health. We're actually going to have a podcast that's going to build a summary on this report. It's by Otsuka, which is the parent company of PsycU. But if you're interested, if you're listening right now and you are an interested pharmacist in psych, in mental health and behavioral health, please reach out to the PsycU team. They are all about, like I said, pharmacists being in the center of mental health.
So I get a follow-up question. I have to ask you before that follow-up question. You sound like Chris Wallace at a debate. But am I going to be guaranteed the same amount of time? Not that this is a debate, because I'm not debating with Keri at all. I am perfectly aligned. So I will take your follow-up question. But before I do, let me address this point. With a self-serving call out for my cousin, Dr. Lisa Ference, an LCSW-C, whatever the hell that means, but Ference. Lisa Ference is the president and founder of the Institute for Advanced Psychotherapy Training and Education, and she provides continuing education to mental health professionals. She's an internationally acclaimed speaker and highly sought-after clinical consultant. She has been a solo private practice specializing in trauma for more than 30 years. And in 2009, Todd, when you were just a little Todd-casting puppy, she was named Social Worker of the Year by the Maryland Society of Clinical Social Work. She has a book called Treating Self-Destructive Behaviors in Trauma Survivors. It's a clinician's guide, and it's edition 2. And you can find it anywhere, I'm sure, on Amazon or Google Books, Treating Self-Destructive Behaviors in Trauma. Lisa Ference, Ferentz. She's my cousin, and her brothers were my babysitters for my first daughter, Amy, when she was a baby. I love her. Her father was a pharmacist, Bert Ettinger, emeritus. He was one of the first compounding pharmacists on Long Island at Ettinger Pharmacy. So before this show's over, because you put me into the mental health mode, I needed to do this call out for a dear, loving cousin who is actually saving lives even as we speak. We're going to get her on this show if it kills me.
Absolutely. So the question I had for you, Ken, because you have a retail community pharmacy experience, years of, I want to come back to the Amazon impact. And that is, I think that there's a false sense of security from patients who now think that convenience is more important than their health, and thinking that their relationship with a pharmacy is going to exist between the primary care and Amazon, which once again is a commodity, and really not having an opportunity to be in front of a clinical pharmacist looking at them to realize that there's something else wrong that's going on with that patient in their life, and it's mental health that is leading that condition and or the comorbidity that could be setting into that patient. And that is the biggest red flag to me, is the mental health component of giving the public a sense of false feeling of confidence in Amazon as their pharmacy. If Amazon is some kind of follow-up commodity-driven provider of medication, that's one thing. But to be considered your leading pharmacy, I cannot see how that will ever take place from a safety perspective.
I agree 1,000%, Todd. If you've been behind the counter and you see a patient coming in with what I call the cocktail, and the medications where one medication is to offset the horrific side effects of another medication, when titrations don't occur for weeks and patients have concerns. We as that pharmacist who cares we're not at a pill pack, CVS mail order company, or we're not at an Amazon like a mail order company. We are right with that patient, feeling their pain and suffering. And there is nothing more horrifying for a pharmacist to know that they cannot help a patient who has debilitating depression and mental illnesses and all of the things, even from young children. When we dispense our concerters and our medications, it's horrifying to see what can be done if that pharmacist is not involved. We must be involved in mental health management for our patients now more than ever, Todd. Medicare estimated that 40% of their recipients were depressed. That was before the pandemic. It's got to be 140%, not just for Medicare. 300 million people in America are depressed, are stressed, are anxious, are dealing with mental aspects. We've dispensed more Xanax in the last 8 months than probably was dispensed forever. And that's not good. Putting benzodiazepams in the hands of people, it's horrific. So your point, sir, as you mentioned it, is the number one concern as we deal with the ongoing pandemic fatigue, the ongoing pandemic impact of what this COVID-19 has done to us. Pharmacists must be involved. We must be in the box. We must be doing outreach. Telehealth. They're not coming to the pharmacy, Todd. It's not like we could say, oh, we're the most accessible, healthcare providers. It's not the reason. We have to go to their house and be that smile in the box that Amazon can't do.
Absolutely. I agree. I want to give a shout out to the team over at the APHA, the American Pharmacists Association. They joined the Pharmacy Podcast Network about a month or two ago. Frank Fortin and Scott Moore, who are the senior leaders there, have joined. They did an episode called COVID-19 Vaccine Update, and Frank Fortin actually led this conversation. This is a great conversation from two pharmacists' perspective on public health and really the next wave that's supposedly coming this flu season and this holiday season. Speaking of holidays, Keri, are you making adjustments to your holiday festivities and Thanksgiving coming up because of COVID-19?
Sure. So yeah, this year looks, different, of course, than other years, but we just continue to play it safe, follow the guidelines that are set out, and just we're taking it day by day. And we're just thankful to have the technology and the communication styles that we can today to remain in touch with extended family and things like that. But it's definitely a different year for sure. But we trust and we continue to do as we do, following all those guidelines and everything, just with hopes that in the future this is going to be we can share those times just like we used to in the past. So definitely a different year, but we still are going to try and get that that family time in, whether it's virtual or those few of us that are able to come together. So, but definitely a unique year for all, and we're all kind of going through this together. I feel like, I've talked to multiple kind of friends and things, and it seems like everybody's kind of in a similar boat this year. We're just trying to get through day by day. So.
What about you, Ken? What adjustments are you making? You have so many grandkids that absolutely love and adore you. So are you getting together with immediate family?
Well, we have my daughter and Amy, who is not coming down because it's not safe to travel. I let her make her own decision, but I'm glad she made a decision that fiercely protects her family. I'll miss them. I'll be disappointed, but she's made the right decision. We sent out 7 COVID-19 at-home tests in the last 2 days to people that we want to be with. My younger daughter, Emily, and Aaron, I did the test this morning in their house. I did my wife's test and my test last night. My mother-in-law is 87 years old. She had a test taken at her doctor's office Tuesday. We do need to make the adjustments. We do need to be together as best as we can. And you know what? There'll be other celebrations, but it is not safe to just get together in larger groups. Let's just be honest. It's a turkey day. I love Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday. I refuse to work any Thanksgiving. When I ever worked at CVS, I worked every other holiday because it's turkey, it's football. You take a nap, you wake up, you eat more turkey. Okay, well, today it's not safe to do it the old way. So as we come to the end of this show, let's be thankful that we're alive and be available for future celebrations. Let's not make Thanksgiving the benchmark of horrific increases in COVID-19 come Christmas, because that's what will happen if we don't be vigilant.
I want to thank Keri. Thank you so much for being part of this. You've kept it lively, Ken, as always. I want to thank our live Mr. Bassi that chimed in, and I want to thank CE Impact and RxSafe for sponsoring this podcast, as well as our podcast partners from the APHA and on Suka in the PsychU community. And with that, we are wrapping up.
What would we do without pharmacists working hard and saving lives? Checking the meds, immunize, it's not that hard to realize. We owe a big thanks to our pharmacist friends. Antihistamines make you sleepy. Methamphetamine make you hyper. Benzodiazepines relax you. It's all on Pharmacy Friday. It's all on Pharmacy Friday.